Hello, it's Ruby, and today I'm going to talk through 20 things to do before your exams. I'm not in education this year, I don't have exams. However, I have had lots of people asking about this. Exams are a very flawed system and often do not reflect your intelligence or how hard you have worked during the last however many years. However, there are some things that you can do to maximize your chances of doing well in your exams, and so hopefully this video can be of some help. So this first part is drills that you can do and actual study practice, which might be useful before an exam. So first of all, number one, do lots of practice papers, especially in the few days leading up to your exams. This is the most valuable thing that you can do. Since these are questions, it's a form of active recall, which is the best study tactic you can use. But also here, you're practicing your actual exam skills and your ability to focus on this kind of question for a prolonged period of time. Doing papers and timed revision practice will just get you used to exams and hopefully prevent you from getting too stressed when you go into the actual thing. Number two, leading on from that, this is specifically for essay writing subjects, but set timers and write every day so that you can reduce the resistance to sitting down and writing. This is one of the hardest things with an essay-based subject. It's daunting to sit down and write an hour-and-a-half essay, but if you write for just 10 minutes a day every morning, you should reduce this resistance and just become more comfortable writing in an academic setting. This is something I did at A-level for each of my essay writing subjects, 10 minutes writing practice a day, and it was the single best thing I did to prepare for my English and RS exams. Number three, try and replicate working in an exam setting and preempt the distractions that might come up. I used to actually do my practice papers with distracting noises playing through headphones to improve my concentration and to get better at concentrating in those kinds of settings. So look out for shoes, pencil noises, keyboard noises, any noises you might expect to come up while you're sat in the exam hall. You also want to make sure that your revision notes are easily accessible and ideally that you've got them all in the same format, so everything's in one place. One of the huge benefits of making digital notes is that you can Command F the document, so you can easily find that tiny thing that you're trying to remember. Similarly, it can be really useful to have past papers, mark schemes, and your specification on hand so that if you have a small query, you can quickly take a look inside the specification, kind of just make sure that you're ticking all the boxes of what you need to learn. Number five, pair up with a friend and each choose your least favourite topic and then take turns explaining this to each other. When you teach something, it often helps to solidify the information. It's actually one of the best revision strategies we can use. Let's just pretend for the sake of this video that I am actually on Zoom with somebody, and if you're both studying the same subject, then it would actually be useful for both of you anyway. Important thing is prioritizing understanding and making sure you understand all of your key topics well enough to explain them, and this revision strategy will really let you know whether you do understand something. Number six, keep a list on a document, paper, on your phone, and every time when you're revising you come across a fact that you're finding hard to memorize, write it down. So you keep a single cheat sheet kind of thing full of facts that you need to come back to and that you're really struggling to remember. And this is for things that you need to memorize as opposed to kind of skills you need to crack or concepts you need to understand. But then you can keep this on your mirror or somewhere you will see it regularly. This, for example, is a cheat sheet that I made for RS. So these are key facts that I was finding hard to remember and they were all in one place. This was the only thing I kind of needed to memorize. And number seven, after doing a practice paper, make sure to mark it. If it's an essay-based subject, also look at what examiners said about the general cohort of answers and what things they generally would have liked to see more of or they generally liked. Unfortunately, GCSEs and A-levels are marked to mark scheme, and this means that there isn't always that much leniency. So mark your papers. And on top of that, just keep a list of all the questions you don't get right, put these all in one big document, and then you can go back and redo these questions later. So this is the one that I had like that for chemistry at A-level. So next set of tips are planning based before your exams. So the first thing is to write out a list of the things that you're finding hardest to remember and understand. So you want to prioritise the things that you're finding hardest to remember. That goes without saying. You don't need to be spending hours revising things that you already know. So if there are key things that you are struggling with, it makes sense to actually start your revision sessions and end your revision sessions with these harder things. And there might be certain things which you just really need to drum in because they won't quite stick. So for me that was bond angles at chemistry, and I would do 5 minutes at the beginning of a study session, 5 minutes at the end of a study session. Number 2, do make a long-term plan. It doesn't have to be really specific. If you have a long-term plan like this, then you can just trust in your plan, and focusing on short-term tasks is much less overwhelming than looking at all of your exams as a whole. If you make your long-term plan, then you can make your daily plans based on that, and it should just be a tiny bit less overwhelming. Timetables also mean that you will likely get it done in time. Parkinson's law says that tasks will elongate to fill the length of time that you give them. Planning means you have less choice and are more likely to stick to things. Number 3, identify your key distractions which are stopping you from working effectively, and then take steps to remove these. And number 4 for this section, write an exam timetable with the start times and locations of each of your exams. So then we've just got some miscellaneous tips, 4 of these. Now this next one is one of the most important things on this list, and that is ahead of time for during exam season, schedule leisure time and schedule breaks. These might be periods of 2 or 3 hours where you're going to do something that you enjoy, a hobby, see friends, and essentially by scheduling it in advance, you should reduce the amount of guilt that you might feel around taking this break. Obviously you shouldn't feel guilty for taking time off, but often that is a feeling that lots of students do feel. But theoretically, if you plan this in ahead of time, it should make it less negotiable and just make sure that you're also making time for things that you enjoy during exam season. Before exams start, make sure to have a few things in which you're just excited about. Another thing you should do is make a list of study break ideas and things you can do when you just need to take some time off. Based on my research and based on my own experiences, it feels more effective to focus on taking breaks with intention. So using breaks to recharge, refuel, so that you can come back to study sessions more refreshed and just more ready to focus. Number 2, if you're not sure about something, ask. Teachers are usually willing to help. So if you have a quick question about the content, you're really unsure how a certain question might come up on a paper, send them an email and ask them in class, because it's better than struggling in silence, and they probably will be able to put your mind at rest. I know this is easier said than done, but if you can try and enjoy the process of preparing for your exams, that will make it a lot easier. There are some videos on my channel where I've spoken about turning work into play, and just trying to, romanticize the process of studying can actually make a huge difference in motivation, but also mindset approaching them. And what about on the day of the exam itself? First and very important thing is to get a good night's sleep. This is probably the most important thing that you could do for your body and for your brain the night before having to sit in an exam hall for a couple of hours and focus really intensely. It goes without saying that if you're well rested, you're more likely to perform at your best. So the night before an exam, but also in just the weeks leading up to an exam, getting enough sleep is really important. Morning of the exam, make sure to have breakfast. Have a good hearty breakfast because you don't want to be hungry during your exam, but also do hydrate. A study in the Journal of Nutrition found that mild dehydration, not even significant dehydration, affects mood and focus in healthy young women. And obviously you want to be in a positive mindset and be focused in your exam. So make sure that you're hydrated and that you've also filled up a water bottle to bring with you into your exam. Number 3, however tempting it is, don't cram or revise in the morning. It's very tempting to, up until the last minute, be looking through flashcards, looking through notes, but you don't want to get stressed, and staying calm right beforehand is very important. Personally, what I would always do is bring a book and just read a few pages beforehand. Remember that you basically know everything that you need for the exam by those final 10 minutes, so you don't need to cram. Number 4, get yourself into a good, confident mindset beforehand. You want to be positive. Maybe practice positive affirmations in the morning, or do some journaling just to rationalise and put things into perspective.
So one thing I had a teacher tell us when we were at school is that you should do power poses before an exam or something big and important. It's really awkward to do though, but it's supposed to make you feel more confident than if you kind of like you're slouched and you're crossed. Don't know if this actually does make a difference, kind of some of the research is contradictory. However, why not hedge your bets?
And finally, number 5, arrive in plenty of time, again, so you do not get stressed.
But the really, really important thing is just to remember that you've got this and to stay positive. You have worked very hard and you deserve to do well. So treat these exams as a way of showing what you do know, and I guess also just try and keep them in perspective. But good luck if you do have exams. I'm sending all the very best to everyone who's got GCSEs, A-levels, university exams, but also internal exams if you're younger. And I hope that you have more than just a productive